Hey there, I am Pops. Secret Invasion is done. Did it pay off? Did Nick Fury save everyone? Do we get to see a Super Skull? Did they go MCU? What actually happens? Let's talk about Secret Invasion, Episode 6, Season 1 finale. All right. What a season. Another Disney Plus show is sort of in the can, right? There we go. Um, So before I get to spoilers and go through everything, let me say that this is at least not the worst of the Disney Plus shows. I will say there are some elements in this episode that I thought were good enough. I thought that I would hate this a lot more than I ended up hating it. It was not as terrible. However, like with all of them, it's not as good as it should have been. In 6 episodes, it should be like an hour and a half to 2-hour movie. That's about all the content that's actually here, and it's full of a lot of fluff, a lot of wasted exposition, wasted time, things that they didn't do, they should have done. It's a complete waste of the Secret Invasion storyline. If you read the comic books, you're going to be blown away at how comprehensive, deep, how crossover it all is compared to this nickel and dime version. Um, I also can say with the show in this episode too that just this one, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm being overly analytical, but this also felt very much like a lot more bad acting and directing again. Like it seemed like it was going to get a little bit better and then it didn't. So um just starts off with just the quick recap, and then that's what we get here. And then we have a quick phone call between Fury and Priscilla. And then he has this scene. We have this scene where the car is rolling toward the street, the Skrull base area. If you remember this from previously, and turns out there's nobody in the car, and Nick Fury gets to jump on them and takes them both out. That's pretty much what happens in the thing before we get to the AI credits. All right. So now we're to Scrody, the Skrull Roadie, who has now become extremely irritating and cringe in every scene, mostly because he's coming across as having a whole lot more power and authority. Like it doesn't make any sense because this is the president. They should have made this like the U.S. ambassador or the vice president, even something, because with the president there'd be so much secret for service. There'd be chief of staff. There would be all secretary. There'd be all of these people that would be around the president, especially if there was an attempt on his life. He would never be held remotely. He would be brought back to the states, secured in all of these things that we're not supposed to think about. The show only works if we treat it like it's in its little tiny bubble. It doesn't have to. It's its own planet, its own universe. It's not like in our world. It's not in the comic book world. It's just its own little lane, because it doesn't even make sense with the rest of the MCU. That's how bad this show gets at times. um I am so over, and this is part of the reason the show doesn't work, is because they've messed up the whole Rhodey as a Skrull thing. It's really gotten irritating. President. Then he's making his, so Nick Fury is making his way. And by the way, am I the only one that's distracted by him wearing a maroon and not a black toboggan, a toque? Anyway, he just makes his way through this. This is the Russian nuclear plant area that the Skrulls are at. They're not affected by the radiation, but the humans are. Gravik had made a phone call about take your radium so you're not getting sick. You'll hallucinate, you'll get ill, all that kind of stuff's happening. They intercut this with the hospital sequence with Rhodey. And then what happens is Rhodey gets a phone call from Sonya Farnsworth. Now, Sonya Farnsworth is by far the best character in the entire show. The only thing that's interesting of all of Secret Invasion has been her character. And she gets a phone call that says, Fury's lost his mind. You need to move the president. He's not safe there. Okay. Rhodey doesn't know what's going on. So he's basically just taking her at face value. And then there's this movement of trying to move the president. Meanwhile, we get Gravik So those are your two stories. You have ill, he's staggering, he's wheezing, he's weak. It's incredibly miserable to watch all of this sequence. We are 10 minutes in, and you've spent most of your time watching your main character look pathetic and weak and ill from the radiation. And then you have Rhodey, the irritating colonel, who basically there's hardly anyone else around the president, and they're going to move him. That's pretty much all that happens in the beginning of all of this before you get to Gravik. Now, Gravik does actually have a really, really good scene and speech and backstory. Now, it's a little too late in some ways, but at least there's something there. He starts to go through his entire motivation of why he looks the way he does. Why does, as a Skrull, they can take the look or the appearance as a different type of human. Why does he choose this guy? He goes through all of that, which I thought actually worked very, very well. And he actually delivers all of this very well. It does make Nick look even more pathetic and weak. Like I really am just, I was so miserable watching all of this. Like the deconstruction of our main character, the breakdown of one of our original Avenger characters. It was really hard to watch. And he basically is just pathetic at this point. And Gravik has him here in this machine, this device. He has basically blackmailed or threatened Nick Fury to bring what they've called the harvest in last episode, because we spent 4 episodes before we got to that point. But it's all of the DNA the Skrulls have collected from the battles on Earth. So all the superheroes, including Carol Danvers and bloodshed that she has spilled at some point, has been collected, and Fury had this vial full of this DNA. None of that makes any sense scientifically, of course, but that's the premise. And then you get to this back and forth, and then of course the president being moved around, and then the president's getting moved around. He asked for a gun in the most unbelievable fashion you can possibly imagine. And this was so like sci-fi channel bad with this whole classified document scene. So what this is supposed to be, I didn't think it was very well articulated to the audience, because I kind of had a hesitation of like, what's going on? This is supposed to be the president ordering the attack on the Russian facility, which was the threat, the blackmail, um, with the whole Gravik situation from before. Okay, but it's like it's an envelope thrown in his seat with classified. It's so bad. Anyway, when we do cut back, we do get the star of the show, in my opinion. Well, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You have this experimentation that goes off with Fury's inside. But here we get this scene. We get Sonya pulls the trigger on Scrody again. She didn't get nearly enough screen time in this episode. I wish she actually had more and was more impactful in this episode. And there is still a major, I don't know, is it me? Can we just get real for a minute? Look, she shot the one guy and he starts turning back to a Skrull form. She didn't have to kill him to make him turn. Why would you not just cut his finger off? Why would you not just shoot him in the hand? I mean, at this point, we've gone through so many episodes now where that was the easy solution to deal with Skrull Rhodey. I don't totally understand, and maybe I missed the dialogue, because I thought I'd play this for a second here. I guess the assumption is that he's going to die in the machine, because once the machine goes off, he starts transforming and facing off against him. See, he basically has this sort of Skrull Hulk abomination look about him, and he attacks Fury, who again kind of holds him back instantly. Meanwhile, it's revealed that's not Nick Fury. That's actually Gaia. and the real Nick Fury shows up at the hospital. So he and Sonya were in cahoots to save the president, stop the attack on the Russian facility. This sequence is way too slow. It's just so dumb that, again, we didn't cut a finger off Rhodey or shoot him in the leg or something. He's a Skrull. Just shoot him. It's you know what I mean. It was so patronizing to the audience to drag all of that out when we at home know exactly what's going on. And none of this matters. What matters is Nick Fury is not actually there. It's her. So she's the Super Skrull now. So yes, not Nick Fury. It's bait and switch. Gaia is the Super Skrull, and she is the one that ends up in this massive battle they harness all these superpowers from Captain Marvel to Mantis, and it literally is I Spy Easter egg stuff of, oh my gosh, that is a Groot, and this is so it's like that's all we're supposed to be doing at home, and I just don't care. It's like you guys don't care about the comic book lore. To have used it in a manner with the Fantastic Four and how it was originally supposed to have been used, I'm supposed to just buy into your new manufactured version. And I sort of don't care. She looks like she is so diminutive in this show. She's so small, like 5'2", 100 pounds. It's so unbelievable. So what you do is you just make her basically another version of Captain Marvel. And she ends up in this big fight, and then we just cut away from the action sequence and the fight sequence to have this sort of back and forth before we shoot Rhodey. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Anyway, Gaia wins because she turns full on Carol Danvers, because Carol Danvers is the strongest of them all. So now there's a second Captain Marvel, essentially, but now I guess Gaia is more powerful than Captain Marvel because she does all the other stuff as well. And it just is this uneventful death scene where she kills Gravik by using Captain Marvel blast through his guts. She deguts him. Okay. I mean, it wasn't the worst sequence in the world. It wasn't the worst action sequence in the world, but it becomes sort of like, I don't care. I saw it coming. The moment you revealed to me that it's her, we all knew exactly how it was going to go. There was never a moment in my mind where I thought, oh, Gravik's going to kill Gaia. Gaia is going to lose. Gaia is not going to be the one to save the day. Never had those thoughts. Like, I never even randomly, accidentally thought that's not how this was going to go. We all knew how this was going to go. Every single person watching the show knew exactly how this was going to go. And then we knew that's what's going to happen. So this is the distraction. So what they do is they give you this garbage. This is our cream of wheat, right? CGI battles with MCU. So now it's like girl boss stuff. Oh, you're just exaggerating. Am I exaggerating? It's so ridiculously dumb. I just don't care. And then we get this. So the distraction is that Rhodey is in like a gown. So you don't know how long he's been a Skrull, right? Because the Skrulls have been here since Captain Marvel time, since the 90s. So he could have been a Skrull for a short period of time, or in fact, he's probably a long period of time, right? And he's in the gown, or he's in something that makes you implies that it dates back to Civil War. Now, on the surface, I just kind of took it as he's been here for a while and doesn't know what's going on. That's all I took it as. However, they did tweet out. Now, again, I'm not going to try to say they're even going to stick to what they tweet, but they did tweet out that this is Civil War Rhodey, that he's been scrolled before Infinity War and Endgame and everything else. Now, and he's supposed to have his own show. He's supposed to have Armor Wars, which again is a complete bastardization of Armor Wars, which is this great Iron Man story arc. So put that in the back of your mind. Put a pin in that nightmare that we'll have to deal with at some point as well. Because all we're doing is just making us cynical fans again. Because all the normies and the people that don't care about any of this are all going to be thrilled that there's this future Easter eggy looking thing with Rhodey and whatever. instead of where we actually end up with this sequence. So the president, his response to the shape shifting Skrull invasion is to just outlaw aliens. Like, I don't know what kind of weird xenophobic response we're going for, because it creates this hysteria for people to just go around and just start killing randoms. Oh, by the way, this is Fury and Priscilla having a little heart to heart conversation. Doesn't go anywhere. And this is Sonya recruiting Gaia and all of that. Yeah, I just don't care. What was happening here? Oh, all the other Skrulls are hit. Yeah. They found the room full of just hundreds of people. So this rando just shoots this politician, this lady. They just and then Gavin Shooter McGavin got shot live on TV because he was a Skrull. It just creates this paranoia and this hysteria throughout the land, which really could have been the entire Secret Invasion story early on if it wasn't this drug out 6-episode nonsense that we ended up with. And instead, we ended up just wasting more time with Priscilla shows up with Nick Fury, and she has to turn into a Skrull. Don't you accept me of who I really am? Nobody read into that. Nobody have any metaphors. Nobody, just that's it. Will he love her? Will he? Won't he? And then they kind of go off together, and that's how the season ends. There's no credit scenes or anything like that. Okay, worst show? No. Good show? No. It barely makes sense in the grand scheme of their shows and their universe. Like, if Captain Marvel's powers could have killed Gravik all along, why would Nick just make one phone call to Captain Marvel, take care of it? Boom, done. Yeah. What? It doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't. It makes my head hurt. No landmines. We're not doing any editing. We're just doing this so it's over. We'll be on Roman's show tomorrow. So you guys, actually, you're seeing this on Thursday morning. I'll be on Roman's show tonight, 8 p.m. We'll dive deep into it more then. So anyway, Nick Fury doesn't save the day on his own show. He's really kind of irrelevant in his own show. He stops the president from killing and starting World War III on false pretenses because Scrody was never outed as a Skrull previously or even moments before. And instead, Gaia saves the day. We have Sonya Farnsworth shows, because that would be way more interesting, like Agents of Sonya, something like that. Sure. Anyway, you guys can tell me what know what you think. I don't know. I watched it so you didn't have to. What can I tell you? Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Pops.
Yeah. Right? And I'm not playing no